Welcome everyone to Code with Femi. I'm actually here with amazing solutions analyst. We've got chatting during work, and it was, we started chatting about something interesting, and I just brought him on my channel to actually share some of this vital, knowledge as to what we were chatting about. And yeah, he is. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, I'm Kirwin, and yeah, solution journalist, so technical business analyst basically in the team, and yeah, Femi is our amazing technical lead.
Thank you. So what are we chatting today about?
Yeah, so it seems like we're chatting about BDD,
Mm,
behavior-driven development, uh, and we can share some knowledge of how we do it currently. We're all experimenting, but that's what Agile is all about. You inspect and adapt.
nice, amazing. So actually, one of the things that really intrigues me is the fact that um, there's a way to actually come up with requirements, right? In a way that the actual, the developers can actually pick up that requirement and be able to develop it. But it's always been a pain, even to this very moment. Like one of the bane of developers is unclear requirements, and it has been a struggle. So I just want to let us go through the actual behavioral development, like how, what value does it add, and how does it help us to be able to develop software. Can we actually talk through it?
Yes, sure. So let's start with what BDD is. So BDD, firstly, you can go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, BDD is it's outside-in pool-based. It's multiple stakeholders involved in the process, and it allows for automation. So you want to have a setup, your BDD example setup, so that you can have automation in future. And it's an agile methodology. It allows you to have faster delivery or better results of your testing. So you only test the things that really matter, as Dan North has said. And then in the interview that he had with another individual, they basically said, okay, so it is really having examples, talking through those,
Yep.
and seeing how those behave, how those things behave, the system behaves,
Yep.
um, and having conversations about those examples. And those conversations are not just with your technical folk, but they with all kinds of people. And maybe later we can talk about things like your three amigo sessions, your sprint refinement. We have various people contributing to this. Um,
Definitely.
yeah,
So when we develop software, you're not just developing for technical guys. You're actually developing for other people, like stakeholders, like you mentioned, that they don't really have that much technical, knowledge, or they really know what the business needs to do or where the business is driving towards. And this actually helps us in a way, like you're saying, it gives us like clarity as to how to interact and communicate with each other. So the technical team or the development team, how they actually communicate with the actual stakeholders or the business owners. Yeah, really cool.
definitely. So let's go further into what BDT actually is. We've mentioned that, yeah, it is, yeah, there we go. It is, it's an approach that really relies on different stakeholders, as we've just spoken about, and then the output of those interactions, and how these interactions lead to software development. So
Mm,
everyone really has an input into this, and we BDD, it focuses on the behavioral specifications, not just your technical kind of specifications.
mm, mm.
Um, yeah, so it's one of the key things. I think we can maybe just go to the next slide. That slide is just to show that there's different stakeholders involved,
Okay.
right? Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Where it fits in.
Okay,
Uh,
is it this one? Yeah, this
it
one.
says where it fits
It's
in.
in, yeah.
Um, BDD, I mentioned earlier, it's about getting a user perspective. So and you want to ensure that you are building the right thing, not
Yes.
just building it right, right? You want to make sure you're building the right thing. We're focusing on the right stuff, the right objectives,
Mm.
and that you normally get from your users, right?
Yeah.
Then your acceptance test driven development.
Development. Yeah.
It helps you build towards the right thing.
Mm.
And then, so I quite like this. So what TDD does, it then, yeah, so that it helps you with building towards the right thing or building it right. But you want
Yes.
to first ensure with BDD that you are actually building the correct thing. That is,
Definitely.
yeah. So BDD it emphasizes the importance and collaboration and the communication between development teams and the client. So you have your various stakeholders. You have stakeholders, and you have your if you can call it your support team
Mm.
or
Mm.
incidental stakeholders, right?
Mm.
Which is your development team. But
Mm.
we're all involved in this process. So it's collaborative, and because it's collaborative, we want to have a simple language as possible
Yeah.
to define these test cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. It's actually amazing. And I think if we doing this the right way, I want to believe we should be able to deliver the software much quicker. And even when issues are being raised, it's easy to track them down easily because there's already an acceptance criteria. Like acceptance criteria means that, you know, I want you to build this thing and I'm expecting it to work this way, right? Am I saying it the right way? Like I want it to work this way. And if it doesn't work this way, then that means you have not passed the actual criteria that I'm actually hoping for
Mm.
that actual software. So yeah, it's quite amazing.
Mm. Yeah. So further on that, so why do we actually need BDT? So Dan North has had a story. It's not on the slides, but
Mm.
Dan North actually had a story,
Okay.
and he says, okay, he was doing test-driven development, and one of the issues that the developers had were that they were asking, where do we start testing? What do we test? How do we test it? So those are actually the wrong kind of questions to ask.
Mm.
Especially in Agile, want to know, okay, what's the objective really?
Yes.
And then we can take it from there um, as to how we're going to test those things.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, I found that quite interesting.
Nice.
Mm,
Just gonna move on. So
yeah,
how does the actual BBD actually how does it work?
yeah. So BDD, how it works. Um, right. So in business analysis, you normally ask your five whys. So so that you can get to the real reason of why you wanna do something.
Mm.
Um, so you say, okay, so let's say you want a piece of uh, some requirement
Yeah.
that's technical, but then you want to ask, okay, but now why do I want to, for example, log in?
Mm.
And you will say, so I can have access to the system. Okay. So why do you want to have access to the system? Right, so I can do certain things, but still, why do you want to log in? Right, that must be secure. Right, okay. So it needs to be a secure system.
Mm.
Okay, why must it be secure? Okay, because it's got personal information. And so you can go on and on like that until you get to your reason of what it is that you want to actually achieve.
Yes.
Yeah. So you ask those sort of questions and you get uh the behaviors that you actually wanna drive in your system. And yeah, how else does it work? So there's certain techniques that we can apply.
Yep.
Uh, for example, we have our Three Amigo sessions, and we talk about it from different perspectives. and we create those sort of uh, test cases from the various stakeholders involved. For example, there could be a product owner involved, there could be a QA involved, so QA tester and a developer, and we all talk about this and get the various stories and uh, test cases that you possibly want to test. Yeah,
Beautiful. And the next one is where can we actually apply this?
yeah. So we can basically you can replace your current test cases if you want to, and you can incorporate it as part of your acceptance criteria. So let's say you have user stories, and then you can have your BDD embedded kind of as your acceptance criteria. And once the developer has done the coding,
Mm,
you can do your testing based on acceptance criteria. So the developer already know this is how it's going to be. This is what needs to be tested rather.
mm,
And a tester will go. They might go into further steps, to further traditional test cases, but at least everyone knows BDD,
yeah.
what it is that you want to achieve. Um, so, for example, you will have your you can go into a template of this thing. You will you will say um, you will say, okay, given a certain scenario, so that's your precondition, when I perform a certain action,
Yep.
then then a particular outcome or certain result is expected.
Mm,
And so everyone can understand this language, and that is sort of how we can apply it.
amazing. So I just have a questions around the application because on the you have it to say definition of ready, and I know this is one
Mm,
of the things that people are not really clear about, especially for the development team, because they really don't know. Some of them don't really know, what is definition of ready. Can we actually like, dive a little bit deeper into that as to, what makes a piece of work, ready?
mm. Yeah, I would say it depends on who the team is, and for each
Mm,
team, I would say that their definition of ready would be different to another team, depending on how flexible they are.
mm,
I think it really depends on the team.
okay.
So they and what it is they need, what it is they need for them to be able to take on that piece of work.
Yeah.
Um, so some teams may say, no, we don't need, for example, a data schema. Um, Perhaps they will do the data schema. They'll do the back end development.
Mm,
So that's why I say it depends on the team. Normally, definition of ready, yeah, it depends on what the team needs. But your custodian of that normally be your analyst in the team or QA
okay.
person. So what is it really? What's his definition of ready? It's a checklist. Your definition of ready or your definition of done. It doesn't change per requirement.
Yep.
It would it would be simply a checklist to say we have, let's say we need the requirements. Does the user stories? Yes, we have the user stories.
Yeah.
We have acceptance criteria. Yes, check. Got acceptance criteria. Um, do we have, um, clarity on those?
Yep.
The details. So it really depends, or whatever else you need, and that goes off on the checklist. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Femi, as a developer?
For me, it's more around, investigating because, you know, when there's no clear investigation as to what we're trying to achieve, then it's not ready. Because I've seen in cases where we make assumptions to say,
Mm,
it's going to work like this in this existing, especially when you're building new feature for existing systems, you
mm,
know, and you actually been told, okay, you need to write uh, a login page, for instance. Okay. Um, but you're not really sure if there isn't any component there because some other team might have created an authentication component that you might just have to use and reuse for your own feature, but you're not sure of that, you can actually come up and say, I just believe that we can come up with a login page, but you still need to do some investigation to be sure, like what are the bits and pieces, what are the things that it touches, what does it impact, for you to be able to have much clarity as to you saying, okay, I think it is actually ready. Because in some cases, you might find that there might be some other service you need to integrate to do maybe authentication for you, and maybe
Mm,
that service is not ready yet,
yeah,
and that is actually a blocker for that actual
sure.
piece of work. So yeah, I like you said, you like as you rightfully said, we need it. It depends on the team. The team has to decide what is their definition of ready. They need to have like a checklist to say, before you pick up a piece of ticket or a piece of work, are you sure you've checked all of those things on the checklist, and are you confident that this ticket can be delivered without any blockage or any hindrances? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So they already we have two different perspectives, and generally it's not just the PA that decides what this definition of it is. The team actually has to say, I
Yeah,
think we're not ready because of these things that's needed because of all these integrations between various, let's say, stakeholders or vendors, and so we need these sort of things. Yeah, good.
exactly. Yeah, so let's move on. So we've got, you said, you spoke about templates, right, that we can easily use. Because for me, when I think about templates, it's just the best way to start, to have like a skeleton, like have a structure in place that you can use to really drive things.
For
And
sure.
yeah, and you can customize it if you want to any any shape you want to. So can we speak about this, like?
S- So let's go with the users to, or let's go with the feature, for example. So you say
Yeah,
login as an example,
yeah.
or let's say reset password. You want to reset your password, and now let's say, what scenario can we have for that? So you have a scenario. So in the event of that you maybe forgot your password. Let's go with that one.
Mm,
Um, so it could be that you maybe forgot your password or you forgot your username.
mm, mm.
So those could be various scenarios.
Yes.
Um, and then you will have a test case for those things. So
Mm,
let's say reset password, for example. You forgot your password. So you will click. So I will say, okay, given that I
mm.
forgot my password,
Yeah.
when I click on forget password,
Yep.
all right, then something must happen.
Mm,
And so a product owner can easily say, right now, this is simple. We're just going to reset the password. But how? Are we
yeah.
going to send the email?
Mm,
Uh, is it going to be what authentication are we going to use? Are we going to use two-factor?
yeah.
Um, or what can allow you to change the password? So then we
Mm.
start having conversations about these sort of things. Yeah, that's where your story refinement comes in. Mm.
Nice. Beautiful. So the final one before we jump into a demo,
Mm.
it says the possible implementation. We've got.
Uh, Yeah, we can skip this one.
Okay.
So basically, what the process, I mean, for automated tools, I was saying earlier, you can use automated tools depending on the technology used is sometimes specific to the technology you're using.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, so sometimes use Angular, you use Protractor for Cucumber, that's front end sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's another one that's being used at the moment. I think we spoke about it yesterday. I just can't get to the name now. In any case, so there's various sort of tools you can use, and then in terms of a process, you can decide what you want to do with it.
Mm,
So if you're going to first, let's say, have a story refinement,
mm,
and then from there have your BDD test cases. And then after that, you might want to have a session where you break down your user stories to task level. Um, So it really depends on the team and how you want to drive that process.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
yeah, I think we've found if you don't want to, let's say, have too many conversations with the vendor,
mm-hmm.
or let's say you are the vendor, then you probably want to do those a lot of those things internally where you first refine the stories and have all your test cases. And if they want to, they can review it, and your team breaks down those user stories further down to tasks. Yeah,
Nice. Let's jump into a demo quickly and see what we can achieve. Yeah.
yeah,
So in terms of BBD, how do we, how do we flesh out the tickets? Like, can we paint a scenario here and just walk through it as
yeah.
to
Let's
how
do
you,
that.
yeah, definitely.
So shall we use login
Okay.
and the reset password?
Definitely we can do that. I'm just gonna create it as tasks. Is that fine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm just what name? Because another thing is the actual name of the ticket must be descriptive, right? Like,
Hmm. Yes. Um, yeah. So for normally for my tickets, I use the what part of your user story. So
okay.
let's say and the user story is quite important. You want to know who's it for.
Hmm.
So that is so as a let's say as a customer, for example. So okay, so it's for customer. I want to perform X function. So that what is what I use for my let's say backlog.
Okay.
But in the description, I will go and say, in the story itself, I will write the whole user story.
Hmm.
But generally, I will say, so as a customer,
Hmm.
so then the actual requirement, the what part is my backlog item. So I would say um, log into system.
Okay. So for the actual ticket now, just gonna say login into
Yeah,
log into
log into system.
log into system. Okay. Say that. Okay.
Yeah.
It is actually just a task, but in the case of a user story, what would be the actual user? So your user story, you have to say like a statement, right? Like as a user, right?
So like so it'll be as a customer. So who is the
As a
user?
okay,
So let's
as a
say
customer, yeah,
yeah, I want to
I want to
log in
log in
to the system
system. So that would be the
so that
statement.
then you'll yeah and also so that I can have access. Uh, yeah,
Let's just open that up. So I'm just gonna use this as a as a user story ticket, right? So
sure.
as a customer, I want to log in to the system to gain access, right? Something
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Access. Okay. So now the description is where we put in like more information, right? As to what that ticket needs to achieve. I know some of the ones
Mm,
that we have because this is actually one of the new Jira boards. But the ones
mm.
you have a section where you can have a acceptance criteria, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
But it's fine. We can still put it in here, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, we can. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that the developer can actually see. So it really depends on the tool you're using. So yeah,
Yes,
so we're
definitely.
using Jira. So yeah, let's go with the description. So yeah, I would typically then say given.
Okay. Given as
So
the
then you
first
can
keyword, right? It's
yeah,
actually like your section to say given, right?
yeah.
And then yeah. So what do we put under that?
Okay. So given um so I would say given that I'm not logged in or I
Or
I got to the login page or something like that.
or so we okay. Let's just refactor because we're also gonna brainstorm. That's the beauty of all of this. So
Yeah,
saying given that I have registered, because before you can even think of
for
login,
sure.
yeah, definitely you.
Yeah, yeah,
So given that I have
yeah.
registered successfully, right?
Mm,
So let's
Yes.
say that we've actually completed a ticket before now.
Mm-hmm.
That was a registration ticket. So the next one would be that now I want to gain access. I've registered, but now I want to
Mm-hmm.
gain. I want to log in now. So given that I've registered successfully, so what would be the next case?
Yeah. So generally, when you register, as a quick thing, you don't always want to. Sometimes you want to verify the customer.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't. Just as a side note, or
Yes. Yeah.
to improve customer experience,
Sure.
you maybe just want to have the guy already logged in.
Yes.
But let's assume that we're not considering customer experience for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's assume in this case, this guy they registered, but they went away and now they're coming back. So given that they registered successfully, now they're coming back to the page. Um, the next uh, keyword would then be when.
When?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I and that would be typically they would let's say what are we using for authentication? A username and a password, I would
Yeah. Let's
assume.
just keep that simple.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say
Yeah.
uh, I enter my username and password correctly.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I enter my user username and password correctly. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so you can have an and statement as well. So after that, you say and.
And
So below, you can maybe
below.
below the with you can say
Okay.
and.
Yeah.
So yeah, when or any of your statements can it can all have a and.
Okay.
So yeah, so and I select um the what's it login
Or I click. Is
button
it,
or
yeah.
I click login. Yeah,
And I click on
on the login
the
button.
login button. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then the next one would be
Then nice.
then
So this
uh
is what you're expecting.
that's what the result is. So
Yes.
let's say what we're gonna do. Sometimes people want two-factor authentication, but let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
I will get to the dashboard of
Yes.
the system.
Then I should see the dashboard
Yeah.
of the system. That's simple. Like for yeah, so now we have like a really clear flow. Sorry,
Yes.
it's just yeah, we have a really clear flow because now what we're saying is that um this is your scenario that you can actually log in. Sorry, you can actually register, right? You've registered
Yeah.
successfully, and when you try to put in your username and password correctly, and you click on the login button, you should actually be able to see the dashboard system. I think this is actually very clear. Eh?
Yes, yes, it should be quite clear so no one is confused. Developers know and the stakeholders know exactly what is going to happen. So yes, in a way, it can replace your traditional sort of requirements to say step one, step two, unless you want to go that detailed for your, let's say, test detailed test cases.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think this is good enough. Um, yeah,
It is
for
straightforward because
everyone.
yeah,
Mm,
because I'm just thinking now, like if I see this, even though I'm new to the project, I easily know what I need to do. Like it's straight to the point. It has the actual end result that we're expecting.
mm,
And for me, I think that is just a big win in terms of development. There is no confusion as to I think when the customer logs in, they need to see their profile. It's right there. You need to see you want to see the dashboard. So
yeah.
I feel that if we can actually like adopt this more and start working with it even much more, it will help us to be able to have also clarity even when we speak in in our stand-ups and in different meetings like your refinement meeting. You can easily speak English, clear English, to say this is where I am. The the user story I'm busy with is the customer logging into the actual system. And this is where I am. I'm just busy with making sure that I can authenticate the username and password, and also give them, authorize them to be able to see the dashboard. It makes life easy for each and every one of us. So I think there's a lot of value in actually doing BDD. And yeah, really amazing. And thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing knowledge.
My pleasure.